Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Endless Party.
Welcome back.
Today's episode is sponsored by In-N-Out.
No, it's not.
But
we wish it was.
It's not, but we wish it was. And I
love that
with
place.
pride, I am wearing their t-shirt today because it is my favorite restaurant in the Western United States. So if you're in the West, you should go. But jumping into what?
What's your favorite restaurant in the Eastern United States?
Hattie B's.
Ooh, Hattie B's. I've never been there. Heard it's good though.
Yes, you go to the East for chicken, you come to the West for a burger.
Beef.
Beef.
Chicken and beef.
You didn't think I was going to have an answer.
No, I didn't. Actually. I was really surprised. I had no idea.
I know. Okay. Today we are going to be talking about fixing two relationships. Number one, fixing the relationship you have with yourself. And number two, fixing the relationships you have with other people.
Yes.
And the reason why they're in this order is because I believe that in order to best serve and have good relationships with other people, you first have to have a good relationship with yourself.
Airplanes, bro. Same thing.
Airplanes. Put your oxygen on you before your baby so you can both live.
Yep.
Take care of yourself to take care of other people. This podcast is inspired by Zig Ziglar's book, See You at the Top.
He's one of my favorite speakers, mind you. If you haven't already listened to him, listen to him. Take his advice. We'll send it a little later in the podcast. We'll talk about it. But he says that you should listen to good speakers, and so therefore listen to him.
Listen to him. Anyways, so we're going to be taking all of our information is largely from his 2 chapters in this book, which has lots of chapters, but these are 2 that really stuck out to me.
They're great.
Okay, so let's jump into number 1, fixing your relationship with yourself. The first thing you have to do to foster a good relationship with yourself is recognize your potential.
So what does that mean exactly?
Well, within each of us, we already have every characteristic necessary for success. Man was designed for accomplishment, engineered for success, and endowed with the seeds of greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you can believe in that, then that is your first step to
becoming the best version of yourself.
Yes.
Actually, interestingly enough, when I was in high school, so as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, in the state of Idaho, little Idaho, it's a big state, not many people, I was pretty famous in the track and field world, okay?
I practically married a celebrity.
In the state of Idaho.
Yes.
Okay. I had this kid on Instagram. He took a picture of me and he dolled it up, photoshopped it a little bit, made me look really tan and nice.
Wow.
Then he put in big quote box letters. It's like everything you need is already inside of you.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
It
was the state championship.
We need to hang that up on our podcast.
I should
set.
find it.
We should have hung it up
It's
today.
a banger. And so he made this whole picture of me, posted it on his Instagram, tagged me in it. And I know it's kind of a comical story, but it's true. We've talked about this before in our podcast, but everything that you need is already inside you. All your ideas, all your insights. It's pretty miraculous because when you really think about it, like In-N-Out, that just started as an idea.
Yes.
And then somebody put it into action, and now it's one of the greatest burger joints in the world.
We are blessed to partake of those burgers because of Mr. In-N-Out.
Because
he
of Mr.
believed in
In-N-Out.
himself.
Exactly.
Man.
But it's cool because everything you need is already inside you, and it goes even further than that. Especially as Christians, we know that we are children of God. We know that because of that, our potential is to become like our Savior, Jesus Christ. And in so doing, by recognizing our potential, we are able to fully accomplish all the goals, dreams, and aspirations that God has endowed us with.
Right. The next thing we need to recognize as we are recognizing our potential is, okay, so now we know that we are capable of success because that is what we were created to be, successful people.
Yes.
But it's important to recognize that the price of success is much lower than the price of failure.
Yep. It's interesting too. You can say that in multiple different ways because it's like the price of discipline is much lower than the price of regret. The price of success is much lower than the price of failure. And it's true. I've seen it in my own life. I can look back on the races that I actually gave my all. Even though I didn't win, I was very, very successful. Whereas other races that I didn't give my all and I didn't win, it was this utter, complete failure. And I still look back on it with regret.
Right.
Because I didn't give it my all. Whereas, like, on the flip side, if you do strive for success, like, that price seems very, very minimal in comparison with how bad you will feel if you don't strive for the success that you're searching for.
Right. Because the way we define failure in this podcast is quitting.
Yeah.
That's how we define failure. So I kind of want to flip that phrase too, that the price of success is much lower than the price of quitting.
Yeah. Because you can't fail unless you quit.
Right.
We've established that. If you haven't listened to it,
Go
back
back
to our previous podcast. And I don't remember the exact title. But it's about failure, success,
it's a good
right
one.
in there. It's a really good one, so you should go listen to it.
Okay, last thing we have to do before we can jump into the steps to fixing your relationship is you have to realize, and I'm still working on this every single day, that success is not a destination. It's a journey, and it's the direction in which you're traveling. And I'm going to be real, I'm a destination kind of girl. I love my destinations.
That's interesting you say that because I would say you're the opposite.
What?
You love traveling. Like planning the travel.
Okay. We got to explain. I grew up with this amazing dad. And he would plan family vacations every year. And him and I would talk about the vacation that we were going on like 6 months in advance. It was like an ongoing conversation that we would have. We would talk about where we're going, where we were going to talk about what we were going to eat there, what we were going to do, how we were going to get there. Like, him and I loved to plan out every little detail. But I did love also getting to the destination.
Well, I was going to say, but that being said, you enjoyed the entire process.
Yes.
Right? You enjoyed the vacation as well.
Yes.
But you enjoyed the process of getting there and like planning it just as much as you did the actual destination.
Okay. I think the destination that I was talking about in my mind was, I want this podcast to go very big.
Yes.
And it's sometimes, especially this week, it was hard for me because I didn't feel like I was at that destination yet. And I was struggling with finding success in my journey, feeling like I was successful, because I don't know if you guys watch our stats, but this week was actually a week where we lost a follower. We didn't gain anything.
What's that about,
we
dude?
saw nothing. Our shorts did worse, even though we felt like we were
putting in extra effort.
right. Anyways, so I think a lot of times in life, there's a fly, but
It's fine. Whatever.
we'll work through it. Anyways, a lot of times in life, I sometimes get stuck in just wanting to be at the destination. But I think Elijah actually helped me to just realize something now. Like, I need to be better at embracing the journey and enjoy getting to my destination, just like I did when I was a girl on the vacations with my dad.
Mm-hmm. So I've never actually watched or read Lord of the Rings. I've heard they're incredible books, but I've watched the movie. And the author actually got asked one time, like, why didn't Frodo just, like, fly on these eagles to Mordor and, like, throw the rings in? Really nerdy example here. But Tolkien actually said, because then there would be no story. It's all about the journey. It's all about the process of getting there. And it's no different with us in life. I mean, looking back at the stories from my parents and Meg's parents, they don't tell of the story of their incredible life now. They tell the stories of when they all huddled in one room because it was too much to heat the whole apartment.
Those were my parents.
Or my parents, who the first house they ever built was a tiny little box.
Pretty much
because
a
it's all they
tissue
could
box.
afford. Yeah, it's all they could afford. They tell these stories of their suffering, their sacrifice, and their experience, because that's what's truly meaningful to them.
And that's what they're proud of.
Well, and that's what they're proud of, because then they ended up at their destination.
Yes.
And it really is. It just goes full circle back. What Zig Ziglar's saying is like, success is a journey, not a destination. That's why everybody looks back on their stories and their experience with such fondness, because it did get them to where they wanted to at the end of the day. And I think that's pretty incredible.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, and that's no different than what Meg and I are trying to build, and even with our little kids. And I mean, I even look at B and Winnie and how they're just starting out. They turned 1 in exactly 1 month. And looking back to this whole year, right? It's made this whole year. When they turn 1, it's going to be a special day, not just for them, but more so for us as parents to be like, wow, 1, we kept him alive for a year.
Kept him alive.
2 of them. But 2, like, now they know how to say goodbye. Now they can feed themselves. Now they crawl around. Now they play. They even play tag, for crying out loud.
With each other.
They are such incredible little human beings. And I can honestly say that's because of your and my effort.
Yes.
And it makes it all worth it.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe there's some of you out there right now that are like, well, why do I need to build my self-image? Why would I need to fix it? Why would I need to feel good about myself? Well, I have a couple answers for you, so listen up. Number 1, when your image improves, your performance improves. Mm-hmm. And I think all of us want to perform well. You know, why? Well, maybe because in your altruistic heart, you want to help other people, but also maybe you want monetary success. Yeah. Maybe you want, you know, a lot of followers. Maybe you want, I don't know what you want.
Yeah.
But if you work on yourself, a lot of other things in your life are going to start falling into place.
Exponentially, they'll improve.
Yes.
It's actually interesting because I have so many friends in my life, and I think Meg does too, that they're all just waiting for Prince Charming or Princess Charming.
Sleeping Beauty?
Maybe. To just show up on their doorstep, right? But it's kind of a cool, I mean, if you look at every story, especially in like Disney and all the princesses, all the princes had to work their freaking bum off to get the girl.
Yes,
right?
they did.
Prince had to go and find every single girl and put on the right shoe.
Yes.
And then
but Cinderella had to be that girl, right?
Right. But also like Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. I mean, Prince Charming literally had to fight a dragon to get to Sleeping Beauty. But why was Sleeping Beauty worth it? Because she was a princess. Mm-hmm. She acted like a princess. She behaved like a princess. She was a princess. Everybody just thinks that Prince Charming or Princess Charming, sorry, are just going to show up on your door. But it's not. Like, you have to be the right person in order to have everything that you want in this life. And that goes for marriage as well. Right. I mean, it's no different than with me and Meg. I was in a really crummy relationship before I met Meg.
Yes, he was.
Why? Because I was probably a pretty crummy person. And then I straightened up and figured my life out. And then all of a sudden I met Meg. And it's the same with every great relationship in this life. You have to be the right type of person in order to have the right type of things, in order to do the right type of things.
Right. This reminds me of one of Zig Ziglar's. This is the phrase he repeats over and over in his book, and it is, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to why you should build your image, because if you build yourself, you'll be able to help others. And if you're able to help others, then in the end, you're going to get everything that you want.
Yeah.
So it just is this full circle of just, you know.
Well, it's actually pretty cool because, like, I even look at the TV series that everybody loves, is that Shark Tank. Mm-hmm. So what's cool about these Shark Tank people is, like, obviously they get a percentage of the business and they, like, obviously are going to make money. But it's cool because as soon as they give these businesses money, they make money and the businesses make money. So it's a win-win for everybody involved. it's a big success, and it goes to show you that like Zig Ziglar's words are true. He actually talks about a multi-billionaire from China, and he tells the story of how he obtained as much wealth as he did. And what happened was this billionaire would go in and he wouldn't just buy companies, he would invest in companies. And then after they paid off his investment, he would keep 8 to 10%, no more. And they asked him like why this was, and he goes, well, 8 to 10% of a successful company is worth way more than 11 to 15% of an unsuccessful company. And the reason he only took 8 to 10, he would say like, my biggest advice for all business owners is when somebody offers you 10 to 15%, take 9.
That's so cool.
And he says, because it shows them that you want them to succeed and you want them to have the ownership of this company. And it's cool because this guy literally became a billionaire off of this motto, because he really did want other people to succeed. And in so doing, he succeeded himself.
Need we say more?
Need we say more?
Okay, so if we haven't convinced you now, we have more. Zig Ziglar offers 15 suggestions
15.
on how to
There's got to be at least one that you can benefit from.
on how to build your self-image. So we're going to go through them. A couple of them we're going to group because I think they kind of fall together.
Yeah.
But anyways, we just kind of went over number 1, which is take inventory, realize who you are, and realize that no one on the face of this earth can make you feel inferior without your permission. Sounds like a good step to me.
It does sound like a good step. It's kind of interesting because I will say this is hard, like easier said than done. You know, sometimes people say some pretty cruel things.
Yes.
Like people can be viciously mean.
Yes, and it's hard when people are like, "Oh, just grow a thick skin." I'm like, "But like my skin's soft. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that."
Seriously, like my mom used to have this quote that I think parallels with this a little bit. But she told me growing up, I don't even remember why, because I wasn't like bullied or anything, but she told me this growing up, of have the skin of a rhino but the heart of a lion,
Oh,
which
like
I think
that.
was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Right? But that's easier said than done too, right?
Yes.
Like lions are pretty ferocious beasts, and like rhinos are like very thick skinned.
Mm-hmm.
They look like concrete walls walking. That's what they look like. But that doesn't mean we cannot develop it. And I would say me and Meg are continually working on this on a daily basis.
Yes. I think the best thing to do is just to be aware. And when you are letting yourself feel inferior, I have to be like, wait, like, I don't have to actually feel like this. I can choose to move on.
Yeah.
I can choose to say my affirmations, to talk to my husband, to believe in good things, and I can move on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2, when you dress up, you look up. A couple weeks ago, I had to have a confrontation.
Yeah.
And it was something that it was like the one principle you say all the time. If you have to swallow a frog.
Zig Ziglar actually said
Oh,
this.
it's Zig.
If you have to swallow a frog, you don't want to stare at that sucker too long.
Right. So anyways, I knew I had to have this confrontation. And before I went, I made sure that I put on, a nice outfit.
She looked great.
This outfit is an outfit I've had for years. It wasn't like I had to buy something new. But I dressed up. I tried to put myself together because I wanted to feel put together as I went into this confrontation. I think it's important to take care of yourself. I think it's important to respect the gift that God's given you. And I think it's okay to dress up and to show respect to your body and, the creation that you are. So I don't think this has to be a vain thing. When you dress up, you look up.
100% not.
But I think we can all take care of ourselves.
Yes. It's actually interesting because if you look at professional athletes in any sport, they all look really, really good. They're really put together. Because it's true. Even when you put on a shirt and tie for an interview or anything else, you automatically feel different. You feel this heightened state of confidence. And that's really what you should be striving for, is every day, if you are more and more discouraged, just start getting ready for the day, and it will change
It
your
works.
life dramatically.
Totally works.
Just this one principle alone has worked. I mean, I always got really ready for my races.
I did too.
I always did my hair. I was looking fresh.
Look good, feel good, race good.
Yeah, and it's there's truth to that
There is.
for sure.
But I will say it can get taken out of hand.
Yeah.
So that is not
Don't be vain.
No, that's how you look on the outside is not the most important thing to building your self-image
No.
and fixing the relationship with yourself. But it can help. Take care of yourself.
Yes.
Okay, number 3 and 4 are kind of the same thing. So number 3 is read good books. Number 4 is listen to good speakers, teachers, and preachers who are builders.
Yeah.
So I kind of interpret this as just absorb good media.
Yeah, and I think that's one that it says in here is talks about media, I'm pretty sure.
It does. It is. Are you
Maybe whatever. Either way, so avoid negative and pessimistic media.
I think you should tell the story you told me last night.
Oh yeah, this is actually interesting. So I'm super into spooky during Halloween season.
He loves to get
I like
in the season.
scary movies. I just like to be.
He likes the mystery.
I like the
He's
season.
He's a seasonal guy.
It's the same with Christmas. It's the same with.
He's a very seasonal
you know?
man.
So, I started watching this series, and I watched like 3 or 4 episodes, and it just continually got like worse. And it wasn't like spooky, scary, like fun. It was like dark, and it made me feel horrible inside. And so I was having pillow talk with Meg last night, and I was just like, yeah, like I just don't want to watch this anymore because it just made me feel like garbage. And especially because I was coming off of this high of just listening to great speakers, reading great books, and writing a lot. And because of that, I just felt so good and fulfilled inside. And then all of a sudden, this media like literally absorbed all the goodness out of me and replaced it with just garbage.
Yeah.
And it's true, like media can have a dramatic effect on your life.
And if you think it doesn't,
You're wrong.
you're wrong.
It can.
It does.
Yeah.
So listen to good things. Read good books. Read Zig Ziglar's book.
Yeah, it's great.
It's good. Okay. Number 6. Join the Smile and Compliment Club. I love this one.
Yeah. So there's actually a story that I will share. When I was in 6th grade, there was this girl in my class. She was a very petite, nice girl. And she was beyond shy in class. She was actually very bright, very intelligent. However, she hated to read out loud in the class. And I don't know if you guys remember elementary school, but
You read aloud all the time.
you read out loud every day, like multiple times
It
a
is
day.
intimidating to read
It's
out
kind
loud
of
in
weird
front of
because
the
like
whole
I don't
class.
remember doing that in high school, certainly not in college. Anyways, and so when she got called on, she would stutter and stumble through words, and it was not actually an example of like what this girl was really.
Right.
She was actually really bright. And I remember one day in particular, we were going to go outside for recess, and our teacher pulled her aside for a minute. She said, "Hey, I need to speak to you right before you go to recess." I don't know why, but I took a particularly long day to get out the door. And normally, like, I'm like out like a flash.
You're probably out to that
I was
playground.
the first one out there, always. But this day, for whatever reason, I didn't sprint outside. And I remember overhearing the conversation that my teacher had. And she said, "Sweetheart, do you know why I call on you to read so often?" And the girl shook her head. And she says, "It's because you have one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard. I want to hear it more often. That's the only reason. I don't want to embarrass you.
Mhm.
You're a very bright girl, but you really just have this beautiful, eloquent, and like charming voice, and I just want to hear it more often." Literally the next day, this girl never stuttered, stumbled, or fumbled over any word that she had to read out loud in class, all because of the one compliment that our 6th grade teacher paid her.
Ugh.
And it's
That's so
true.
cool.
Just join the Smile and Compliment Club,
Yes.
and you can make a dramatic change in your own life, but in the lives of others as well.
You feel better
You feel
when you give people
Yes.
genuine compliments.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about false flattery.
No.
We're talking about genuine praise.
Right. I like that. Number 5 is attack problems in a series of short steps.
Wait, we went back.
I think I
We
realized
screwed up.
I think I said number 6 and then number 5.
That's okay.
So we're going back to number 5.
Yeah.
Or we can just, okay. Number 5, attack problems in a series of short steps. This one's just self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory. Don't bite off more than you can chew.
And instead of looking at the whole big problem, figure out what you can do in the moment.
Yeah.
Work on something now. Okay, number 7, serve others.
Yep. That goes without saying. I'm going to be honest. Like, it's pretty easy. There's opportunities to do good and be kind to others. Not just within your family and friend group, but to anybody. It's going to make a change in your life.
And I also feel like on social media and just media in general, it's always like publicized that you're only serving someone if you're in the foreign country of Africa, building a well, building a home, which are very good things and should
or
be
if
happening.
you put it on camera.
Right. But, take a cookie to a neighbor.
Right.
Like it doesn't have
Doesn't
to
have
be.
to be anything grand.
And those
Even
little
just that
acts
compliment
matter.
and smile,
Yes.
like that's service.
Okay, number 8 is be careful of your associates. And I put him in big capital letters, so careful. Time after time, I feel like Elijah and I learned this lesson. Your friends matter.
So there was actually a dope study done back in 2006, I believe. And it was a Harvard study, and they called it the bad apple theory.
One bad apple.
Finish this song.
I don't know all the words.
Anyway, so they called it the bad apple theory. And they took friend groups of 5, and then they just implemented one very negative and pessimistic person. Crazy thing happened. All of their productivity within the group decreased by 40%.
Ugh.
All because of one person. So really, really, really does matter of who you associate with. I mean, that study on countless other examples, just in my own personal life, but as well as the examples of others, prove this to be true. So just be very mindful of who you're associating with.
That's such a cool study.
It's dope.
9 and 10 are kind of the same thing. So, number 9, make a list of your positive qualities and keep them handy. And number 10 is create a victory list. Now, these are not meant to inflate your ego,
No.
but it's important to remind yourself of the good qualities you do possess. It's very healthy and it's not wrong at all.
No. Well, and like victories, I mean, I think David Goggins even talks about this, is he calls it his cookie jar.
Yes.
An opportunity to like take out the positive things from your life, like recognize where you have had success. And that's actually pretty phenomenal, because when we talk about this podcast or businesses that me and Meg are pursuing currently, we actually fall back on our past successes within sports and our education.
I was going to say that.
And it's cool because, and it works.
Yes.
Right? It's like, oh man, like I'm so discouraged by XYZ. Then it's like, oh, actually, I remember when I hit a plateau in running for weeks, if not months, and then finally had my big breakout race. Like, it'll come. And so it's cool because it helps you just keep the faith and the hope to progress further.
Right. Number 11 is avoid pornography.
I'm going to be real. It's a plague, yo.
It is a plague.
It's bad. And it detrimentally hurts you. It's one of those quotes that it's like, not all murderers, or not all people who watch porn are murderers, but all murderers watch porn. I don't want to be associated with that. Neither should you.
It will detrimentally hurt all of your relationships.
Everything.
With yourself,
Everything.
with your family.
It's actually, there's this one quote that one of my mentors told me years and years ago, and it doesn't matter how deep the water is, so long as none of it gets in the boat. Just keep your mind sealed. Be pure. Be virtuous. Fill it with the things that are truly beneficial to your life, and do not fill it with filth and vulgarity and cruelty. And that encompasses what pornography is. Don't fill it with porn.
Don't do it. Number 12, I love this one. It's learn from successful failures. When I'm getting down, I love to go back and remind myself of the stories of J.K. Rowling or Stephen King or
Babe Ruth, Michael Jordan.
I
mean,
love to remind
hundreds
myself of
thousands
these
people.
stories because it's okay to fail, and all of the successes out there have. But they didn't. The reason why they had success and why they didn't actually fail is because they never quit. They kept persisting, and it's important to fill yourself with those stories because it gives you the courage to persist and believe.
Well, it's cool because Zig Ziglar even says this. He's like, failure is an event. It's not a person. And that's what's so cool about this is I like the way that he phrased it is learn from successful failures. Because what's fascinating is, would you actually label J.K. Rowling as a failure?
No.
Or Stephen King?
Never.
Or what's the Kentucky Fried Chicken's guy's name?
Colonel Sanders.
Colonel Sanders.
Frick no.
Michael Jordan. No, you wouldn't label any of them as a failure. But in all reality, they failed over and over and over again.
Until they didn't.
Right. And it's pretty miraculous to be able to just draw upon their own experiences. Because then all of a sudden, there can never be another J.K. Rowling, but there could be another Elijah Armstrong, and that's me. Or a Meg Armstrong, or a B Armstrong, or a Winnie Armstrong, or whatever your name is. That's what's so cool is like you can fall back on the success of others to just give you hope and motivation to persist through the trials that you're going through.
Absolutely. Number 13, be a part of good organizations. I would encourage you to find a church.
Yeah, I would too.
We're part of the best church on this earth.
Obviously.
So if you're looking for one, reach out to us. We'll
connect you with people.
We'll make connections. Not only that, be a part of just things that bring your life joy. This kind of reminds me of something we did this week. Elijah and I decided that we were going to do something spontaneous. So without his input, and as a complete surprise, I took him to an Argentine tango class. And it was so fun to be doing something that was
It actually was a blast.
So completely out of our element, but we were in this room full of this mixture of people that I don't think we would ever find ourselves in again. It was so cool.
It was so unique.
But it was such a good time. So find things like that out there to be a part of. It really does boost your life.
Well, and I think what's fascinating is the organizations that you associate with don't become your identity. But what's so incredible is that they can shape your identity into what it should be.
Yes.
And that's how I look at it with our own religion and just the gospel of Jesus Christ in general, is that it shapes and molds you into the people that you are meant to be. And so be a part of really good organizations. I mean, we have a buddy that's part of a pickleball organization, and it's a bunch of old dudes.
He loves it.
And he loves it because they're all good people. Find things that are really going to benefit you. One, that you enjoy, but two, that'll just improve your life and improve who you are.
Okay. Number 14 is look yourself and others in the eye. This is important. When you're in the mirror getting ready or
the eyes are the windows to the soul.
When you're in the mirror getting ready, look at yourself. This reminds me of our twins.
Oh, yeah,
One
this
of
is
their
so awesome.
favorite things to do is look at themselves in the mirror. They get in front of that mirror and they
party.
They party. They look at themselves like they are meeting the greatest person and seeing the greatest person on the face of the earth. It's honestly inspiring.
It is inspiring.
It's so fun to put
You should love yourself.
It's so fun to put them in front of the mirror and watch them kind of strut.
But it's funny too because it's not like this vain pride. It's genuine love.
They're literally like, oh, hey
my
there.
Gosh, who is this?
They're literally like, oh, hey
They get
there.
so excited about it.
It's so fun.
And it does. It makes you inspired to be the same type of person. It's like, why don't I love myself this much?
Oh, hey there.
You
Good
know?
to see you.
Love yourself so much that you really just like who you are. Dislike yourself enough to improve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 15. This one is, I actually like it. It's alter your physical appearance when possible, practical, and desirable. Tell me the story of the ears.
Oh, yeah. It was actually Zig Ziglar's daughter.
Yeah.
I don't remember which daughter it was, but she had these ears that poked out slightly. Nobody cared in her family. They all thought she was a beautiful girl. But she told them years later, and she's like, I've always been self-conscious of my ears. And he goes, I had no idea. So he's like, sweetheart, like, we can go get, like, minor surgery for these if you want. And so she did, and she just had them a little tucked. And night and day difference in this girl's life. And he just goes on to say, he's like, this, if it's something that you truly believe are going to give you more confidence, more passion, and able to, like, make you feel as though you are living up to your potential, it's not a bad thing.
No.
It's not vanity. It's not pride. It gives you the ability to live up to who you are meant to be. And that could never be a bad thing.
Right. So, actually, unbeknownst to you guys, I am missing 2 teeth in the front of my face. And I just happened to be blessed that I was born the daughter of a dentist.
Yeah.
But throughout my teenage years and in high school, I had these horrible braces, and they left 2 holes in the front of my smile. And thankfully, like I said, my dad's a dentist, so I have a permanent bridge in the front of my mouth, and it gives me 2 teeth, and it gives me confidence because I do have
beautiful smile.
I have a smile, and that's really big. And
Yeah.
so I think that's a really good example where
It's a
like,
perfect
it's okay
example.
to have teeth in your mouth and to take care of yourself and to be okay smiling.
Yes.
I think that's okay.
I think that's a perfect example of this. It's not vain. It's not pride. In fact, those are just 2 things that people need.
I think so.
So it's a great example. Yeah.
Okay, so now we've covered Zig's 15 ways to build a healthy self-image. There's now 6 things to be
That cause a poor
that
self-image.
causes poor self-image, and just to be wary of, so that
Yeah.
you can guard against, the things that can bring you down.
Right.
Number 1 is to only speak of God's judgment. And he says that sometimes you can be associated with preachers or get into this understanding that God is only a God of hellfire and damnation. And that's not the case at all.
No.
He is a God of justice.
He's also a God of mercy and love.
Mostly that is what he is.
Yes.
And once you realize that, I think it's easier to give yourself and other people grace.
Yeah. It's actually interesting because I think so many times people have this misunderstanding of what repentance actually is. They think that they're going to approach God and that he's just going to be so ashamed and, like, just disregard him. And in fact, some people just don't repent entirely because they don't even feel worthy to enter God's presence.
Mm-hmm.
And that couldn't be farther from the truth. Like, repentance is actually a very good thing. And he is just eagerly waiting to forgive you. I mean, what good father would not welcome their kid with open arms if they said, Dad, I'm so sorry. I screwed up. I need your help. It's the Bible even tells us the prodigal son story. And so, like, avoid this misunderstanding that God is a God of hellfire and damnation. Yes, 100%. He is a just God. And his judgments will be upon everybody, but so will his mercy.
Number 2 is sometimes we feel bad about ourselves because our ability, our appearance, or our intelligence has been ridiculed or questioned repeatedly by parents, teachers, friends, or those in authority.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really unfortunate, and I think a lot of us have had pieces of ourselves really picked apart by people who, are, I guess, just in like a higher, I don't know, just a place of influence.
Yeah,
That's a good way to
that's
put
a
it.
good point. Yeah.
And
We all have.
and you don't have to buy into that. And
No.
you can recognize where you have been picked apart, and you can build that back up in yourself.
Yeah. It's actually interesting because Einstein has a quote, at least he's credited with this quote. It's, everyone's a genius, but if you judge a fish on how it can climb a tree, it will live his whole life thinking that he's a failure. And it's actually interesting because I look back at even my high school career. I had a friend who was just a whiz when it came to reading and English. And then with other stuff, he was just garbage. And so finally, like, years and years and years, people just told him that he was dumb, that he was stupid, that he couldn't make the grades. And so finally he proved him right. Like, he didn't. Then he became a phenomenal welder. Like, I'm talking, he probably makes well over 6 figures just in his welding company. And it's fascinating to see that because everybody viewed him as a failure in terms of like school. But then all of a sudden it just flipped a switch and he is phenomenal with his hands in terms of welding. And it's the same with each and every one of us. Like, well-intentioned parents and teachers, like, will say just off remarks.
They will.
And you don't have to buy into that, for one thing. But two, like, recognize where your strengths are and where your talents are and, like, where your passions are and pursue that.
Mm-hmm. Number 3 is confusing failure with a project with failure in life. Just because one area of your life isn't going the way you would like it to does not mean that your whole life is a complete failure.
No.
Don't confuse it.
Nope, don't confuse it.
Number 4, this I think is good to remember because of our media influenced world. This is unrealistic and unfair comparison of experiences. And I'm going to pair it with number 5, which is comparing your worst features to someone's best features, which I think is something all of us do because
all the time.
Of social media.
Yes, all the time. I mean, how easy is it to like jump on social media, especially if you want to start a YouTube page or a podcast or anything, and then automatically just, oh man, I'm not doing that, or oh man, they have this product, or oh man, like I can't do that. Stop it. Just stop it.
If we compared our worst short to another podcast's best short,
we'd never podcast again.
no, we would be ashamed. But we don't.
No, because it's foolish.
It's not right.
The race is not against others. It's against yourself. Just be the best version of yourself.
Absolutely. Okay, number 6 kind of goes along with 4 and 5. It's just the floodgate of negative media.
Yeah.
So along with comparison, there's a lot of negative media out there. And
tons.
It's trying to convince you that you aren't enough.
Yeah. It's actually it's fascinating to me that so much of our media is that you aren't enough. You won't make it. And that's
use our product to make it.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
This is lame.
It blows my mind. I mean, it goes back to what we've talked about in a previous podcast. Is like we had one experience where they try to get you to sign up for all this stuff and give all this money, and then it's like, only our product is going to make you wealthy. Only our product is going to help you succeed in life. I'm like, no, that's not true.
It's not true.
It goes back to what we said at the beginning, is like everything you need is already inside. All of us were endowed with greatness. And if you actually believe that, like, start practicing it.
I agree. Okay, so those were the 6 cautions to making sure you don't hurt your self-image.
Yeah.
I guess. And we also explained the 15 steps to helping build your self-image. So I think at this point we know what we can do to fix the relationship with ourselves.
Yeah.
So that being said, now that you've learned how to take care of yourself, we can flip the ball, and now we can figure out how to fix our relationship with other people.
Yeah.
The number 1 principle in Zig Ziglar's book is that you are going to treat people the exact way that you see them. And he shares this story, and I think it's so funny. So there is an experiment, and these students were put into a room, and they were like, okay, this group over here, you are going to be working with smart rats. Okay, your rats are very smart. You're going to put them through the maze, and they are going to get to the end very fast. They're smart. He gets another group of students. He's like, okay, you guys have average rats. He's like, they might get lost, but eventually they're going to make it to the end because they're average. So they'll make it, but not as fast as smart rats. The third group, he goes, you guys have idiot rats, okay? They are dumb. They're I don't know why this is funny. They're like, they're never going to find the end of the maze. They are idiots. And the results were exactly as followed. the students who thought they had the smart rats, their rats made it to the end fastest. The average did about average. And the idiot rats never found the end. Okay? They were idiots. This is why it's funny. There's no such thing as a smart rat or an idiot rat. You can't measure the IQ of a rat. It's a rat. Okay? So it just goes to show that people are going to perform in the way that you see them and you treat them. So take out rat. If you tell your child, you're very smart, you know, you're very intelligent and I believe in you, what are they going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And on the flip side, if you told your child,
You're an idiot.
you're an idiot, who are they going to become?
Yeah.
And that's where it gets serious and does sink deep, because your words do matter and the way you treat other people matters.
Mm-hmm.
So treat everybody like they are this smart, important person, and that is who they are going to be.
Well, and I would add, like, treat the people that you tell strangers you love the most with love. I mean, I can look back on countless examples of people who either in church or when they're at a public gathering, they say how much they love their spouse or how much they love their kids or how much they love their friends. And then when they are with their spouse, their kids, or their friends, treat them like garbage. That's so sad.
It's very sad.
And so just make sure that you are treating people the way that you would in public, in private as well.
There's this story that Zig Ziglar shares. This is probably one of my favorite stories I've actually ever read in a book. And it is about little Annie and brownies. So, there's this girl. She was in an insane asylum, and her name was Annie. And no one could get to her. She was this helpless cause. And this is a true story. And it was way back when asylums were pretty messed up. And so what they did is they took this little girl and they put her in the basement. And she was in solitary confinement and she was all by herself. And she was like in the basement with like the other people who were just unreachable. And there was this nurse. And I'm going to get emotional, but there was this nurse and she decided that she was going to start to have lunch down in the basement. And she decided that she was going to bring this little girl, little Annie, brownies every time she had lunch. And she came down and she put the brownie like in front of the girl's cell. And of course, little Annie didn't touch it and she was unreachable. But she left it there, and the next day when she came back, it was gone. And so this woman, every time she went down to have lunch with this girl, she brought her brownies. And what happened was this little girl, she then started to make amazing progress. And she made so much progress that she came out of being a patient in this asylum and she started to help the other patients there. Okay, so now there's another little girl, Helen Keller. And as we all know, she got really sick, and so she wasn't able to see or hear. So she was blind and dumb and deaf. Yeah,
blind, deaf,
dumb
and dumb.
Dumb because she couldn't
speak.
Okay, let's just clarify there. Anyways, and so she was this little girl, and she was having these horrible tantrums, and no one could reach her. And, you know, rightfully so, too. Like, she can't hear or see. Like, that's really hard. Anyways, but this woman came, and she was able to work with Helen Keller, and she changed Helen Keller's whole life, and she helped her to, you know, make progress, find meaning, and we all know what Helen Keller did for that community. And the woman who helped Helen Keller was that little Annie, Anne Sullivan. And so because that nurse took care of Anne Sullivan was then able to take care of Helen Keller. Mm-hmm. And Anne Sullivan saw that little unreachable girl within herself that she used to be, and was then able to help Helen Keller and help Helen Keller reach her full potential, right, which had a huge... Helen Keller changed the world.
Impact on the entire world, yeah.
And that's just such an amazing story to me. It's so inspiring.
Yeah, it really is. So there's actually another story that we want to tell you. It's actually Zig Ziglar's daughter again. And they used to call her, she was just the middle child, right? Mm-hmm. And you're just the middle child. And then this started to like escalate into like, oh, you're just like so mad all the time. Oh, you're just so mean all the time.
And it's because you're the middle child.
Oh, she's just the middle child, right? And it was actually interesting is like Zig Ziglar realized that he was like causing this. He was causing this reaction in his daughter because of the words which he was speaking. He was actually speaking her reality into existence, and everybody around her was. And so finally he started to just call her happy. And he actually called her the happy tadpole, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually this completely changed her view of herself. And so she started to just be this happy little tadpole. And everybody noticed. Everybody noticed how happy and joyful and just excited this girl was about life. All because her parents shifted not only how they saw her, but how they spoke to her and how they treated her. And so she became the happy little tadpole. And it really does matter what you say to your kids and what you shape them to be. Your words matter a lot, more than we even can comprehend.
So we all would do better to make sure that we look at people the right way so that we can treat them well.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at yourself the right way, then chances are you're going to be looking at others the right way and give them grace.
100%.
And help them to, excel and elevate their lives in the ways that you're elevating yours.
Mm-hmm. So that's everything in a nutshell of just those couple chapters of Zig Ziglar's book, See You at the Top. If you haven't read it, go ahead and read it. It's a great read. Comment below what you liked, what you didn't like, what you're interested in, all the good things.
We'd love to hear.
We would love to hear. Also, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, like it, do all the good things.
And until next time,
Peace.